Welcome, everybody. We are live from Delray Beach, and we are to discuss today some passage from the portion of Chukat. That is the name of this portion. And the whole portion is basically about sacrifices, like killing of animal and burning it to ashes and spreading the ashes. And from those ashes, um, you would cleanse the most negative sin that a person would have ever committed. So obviously we don't do this kind of sacrifice today, but the fact that we're discussing, the fact that we're going to listen to the Torah on Saturday morning on Shabbat, that connects us to that energy of cleansing. That makes us travel back in time to those to this environment, to this context, to this consciousness that people had, more than consciousness and awareness, that something needed to get done, something needed to be done as far as their level of negativity. Unfortunately, what we found today is that people are oblivious to their faults or to their ego or to the things that that they came to work on. So we can be aware of our negative emotions, but not necessarily aware of the klipa, of the layer of negativity that is basically having a grip on us, right? So somebody could say, I have issues with anger, I have issues with jealousy, I have issues with temper, lack of patience, etc. This is not the tikkun. This is not something that you go to the altar and burn it to ashes or sacrifice it with the red heifer. So when we were in that stage, and I'm saying we because we are reincarnating, and there is an aspect of us that was at the temple, that was aware of the reality of the spiritual work, and that the spiritual work is inward and not outward, right? Like a majority of people today think that the spiritual work is raise the consciousness of people out there, not starting with me. And the spiritual work really starts within, with every single individual, one by one, starting with each one of you, starting with me. And as we change, as one individual change, then the universe changes. This is what the Rav used to say. It is enough sometimes to change one, really change one individual for the entire universe to experience a dramatic positive change. And so we want to connect to that aspect of cleansing, of appreciation that is given to us, that we have the ability to remove all these negativities with the help of what we call windows in time. And so we have several windows in time throughout the year that help us to do our spiritual work, to accomplish greater things than we would maybe be challenged usually. But the week of Chukat is one of those great windows in time that helps us to boost our spiritual immune system against the opponent, against the desire to receive for the self alone. So again, the opponent, the desire to receive for the self alone, is not an external force, it is an internal force. I've been talking to somebody that is close to me in the past couple of weeks, and every time that I get a chance to speak to this individual has encyclopedia of negativity to say just about anything that this person encounters. It is a big challenge to listen to, but there has to be a reason why, things come to us in the way that they're coming to us. And therefore, I'm certain that there are some things that I need to cleanse myself. But that person is oblivious that the negativity is inside. And if we are oblivious to the negativity that is inside of us, we focus on the negativity that is projected out. And because we are focusing on what is projected outside of us, so it's basically the effect, because we are generating or we are creating a loop of endless, like catch-22, where I'm trying to change the outside, but I can't really change the outside if I'm not dealing with the seed level. And so without necessarily knowing what is the seed level of our darkness, of our negativity, it is good to think while we're reading these couple of verses that we're going to read, to ask Rabbi Shimon, to ask the Zohar, to ask the Aramaic, the Hebrew letters, to help us go into the root of our soul and to remove the negativity that we came with. And so although each and every single one of us has come to encounter all sorts of challenges in our life and challenging people in situations, we are carrying life after life a baggage, a spiritual baggage. And this package that we come with is what very often recreates an environment the way that I left it in the previous life. So maybe those different packages, come in a very specific time in our lives where we deal with rejection when we were 8 and dealing with abandonment when we were 21 and loss at 42, etc., etc. But we need to know that we are carrying these packages, spiritual packages with us, and as long as they are not dealt with, then we carry them. And as we carry them, they also, because they haven't been dealt with, they carry even more weight for the next time to come. So we want to ask from the universe, from the Creator, from the light, from God, the help of the Zohar, the help of Rabbi Shimon, as we're reading these couple of verses from Chukat, and you can read it by yourself, is to give us a chance to really deal with the seed level. And maybe for a short while, or as long as I can, to take a break from focusing on the outer challenges, outer triggers. And maybe it's going to start, popping up in my mind. Wait a second, I've done this long enough. I've been in this single process for the last 2, 5, 20 years. Nothing has changed. I need to do things differently. And this is how it begins. It begins by us taking responsibility in the way and in the means that for whatever it is that is inside of me is causing that to happen over and over. It's not because you have like a jerk or all sorts of, nickname to this person that is driving your life nuts, crazy, that he causes you the cause of your trouble. We need to know that we are projecting whatever is inside of us. We are a 30th century projector. The movie, the reality that we see it as we see it right now, it is the reality that I'm projecting from within. And so as we're starting to cleanse from within, the outer movie that we're projecting is starting to be cleansed. The things start to flow. Things start coming to me easily and with great abundance and fulfillment and joy and sense of mercy, sense of forgiveness. And suddenly we are submerged with feelings of let go, with feelings of, why should I give this energy, any energy, and shouldn't I just filter the bad mood of this individual if it doesn't serve me? Now, it is very hard for any human being to come up to those realizations if we don't do any spiritual work to cleanse. And by cleansing starts with taking responsibility. Just the idea that we agree, we accept, we embrace that whatever we see with our five senses, whatever we perceive with our five senses, it is a projection. It is, it's a very difficult word to say an illusion, because to say an illusion, it doesn't exist. It does exist. It does exist, but it is tuned in and matching the frequency that I'm connected to. And it is real to that frequency. But as I'm cleansing my level of consciousness, I'm raising, I'm spiking this level of consciousness, and my level of consciousness as a result is projecting a better movie. Everybody is with me, yes? Yes? All right, so, okay, so let's read those couple of verses. בני ישראל, ויקחו אליך פרה. ההיא פרה לדחיותה, קעתיה לדכאה למסעווה. פרה דקבילת מין שמאלה, ומן הוא לשמאלה שור. כדאי תקיף, ופני שור מהשמאל, אדומה סומקה כוורדה. דכתיב כשושנה בין החוכים, אדומה גזרת דינה. תמימה, מה היא תמימה? כמה דתננן, שור תם ושור מועד. שור תם דינה רפיה, שור מועד דינה קשה. עוף אחת תמימה דינה, רפיה גבורת התאה. דה היא תמימה גבורה אילאה. דה היא דינה קשה, והיא יד החזקה תקיפה. Speak to the children of Israel, and so again, the children of Israel is us, is anyone who is pursuing a spiritual path. And again, the spiritual path is a path of taking responsibility. It is a path that we are engaging in self-introspect and self-transformation. That they bring you a red heifer. This cow is for the purpose of cleansing, to purify the unclean, which is malchut that we receive from the left. And so what it is we're cleansing, there are those actions, those seeds that have been planted in the physical reality. Physical reality is actions, thoughts, and emotions that I dwelt in at some point in my life. And so those are accumulated. And as we come to Rosh Hashanah very soon, we learn about, to be inscribed in the book of life. There is such a thing in a couple of religions, not only in Kabbalah, about, those archives in the upper world that are written about, the individual. Each and every single individual has those positive and negative archives. There have been movies, done about it, like Bruce Almighty is one of them. There is like some injection of what I'm talking about right now, that God comes and he opens like this endless, like a drawer of, of this guy, and everything is written there. And so this is not just the theory, it is also people that are experiencing a sudden, like an accident, and they're not necessarily, like they're not dying, because they are here to tell us the story about, the entire life flashing in front of their eyes, and they see all the things that they have done, all the things that they have said, and whenever the word of death, has access to this book of life, or book of death, basically to describe the positive and the negative actions. Everything is inscribed. Everything that we say, everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we project, everything that we dream of, everything that we feel, everything is inscribed. I mean, it's a little bit like a kind of like freaky, because for the next 5 minutes we're going to be like, oh, I need to be careful what I'm thinking and what I'm doing, because everything is written, right? And so according to that, we are brought back to that memory, or to remember that while we pray, like the long prayers of Rosh Hashanah, that may we be inscribed in the book of life and not in the book of death. And so what determines that it is we do in the realm of Malchut, right? And so Malchut, which receives from the left, that is what Malchut is in affinity with. So you have 3-column system in the tree of life, and Malchut, although in the design, it looks like it's on the central column, Malchut is really left column. Even if in design it looks like it isn't central, it is left column. And so who is on that left? It is the ox that is Gvura in Zir Anpin, as it says, the face of the ox. Are you still with me? Can you hear me? Yes? Thumbs up? Okay, awesome. The face of the ox from the left side means red as a rose, as written, like the rose amongst thorns. Red means a sentence of law, since the laws of the left column are considered red. It's interesting because in our maybe interpretation, we would think that red means a sentence of law, since the laws of the left column are considered red. It looks like something that is negative, isn't it? Right? Like done bad, and there is like a, cause and effect, and you need to deal with it. The thing is that it works both ways. We do positive actions, and we work on ourselves. We embrace our transformation and endeavor into self-sacrifice for the sake of others and for the sake of sharing. That maybe I wouldn't use the word sentence, but I would use the word reward. And so in the spiritual world, there is, call it, like rewards and punishments, but the way that we can call it is basically cause and effect. And so we prefer as a human being to focus on the part that, when I do good, when I do charity, when I help the older lady cross the street with a grocery, I'm accomplishing great things, and with accomplishing great things, I'm scoring points, I'm scoring spiritual credits, and a lot of times those spiritual credits, at least in our understanding, if in the Malchut, in the realm of the physical reality, we get jealous, get enraged, or something like that, there are those moments that we feel like we need to do something to compensate. And a lot of people are led to do a lot of spiritual work because of the things that they do in their lifetimes. And so they might, cheat on the wife, but they would go to church, or they would go to the temple and do great things and be like a very popular and very powerful fundraiser and philanthropist. And I mean, you just see like, some of the things without judging. I really don't care. But it's just like for the sake of the example, that the Gates and his wife have, recently separated, and they're divorcing. And for a lot of people that basically didn't know them, would never think what Bill Gates was involved in. That he had like a mistress, and it was like in an arrangement with his wife, and he had like all the things that were happening with employees, and he had like this relationship with this guy in the island. Like, you would never think about those things, right? But you can understand what we're discussing here, that when a person does things that are questionable energetically and spiritually, there is a side of us that would need, very often, led by guilt or remorse, to almost create like a balance, almost to create like like an equilibrium. The only problem with that is that with cause and effect, it doesn't work this way. with cause and effect, it's going to apply to the good things that you do, but also equally to the things that are questionable. So if you do good, you draw good back. But if you do bad, or you do things that are desired to receive for the self alone, or that would draw a sentence from the upper world, then we'll have to deal with it. And so very often, or there are those stories where, after some time or a few years, or after the person has reached such summits and highs, a person has been discovered, red-headed. He was dealing with fraud, he was dealing with cheating, or he was dealing with things that were like really questionable, and the guy, went bankrupt and whatever, but because he had like a big investor, he started again, and he was like eventually successful. What I want to discuss is that there is that moment. I think that every single one of us at some point dealt at least once with these moments where we are caught red-handed. If it is cheating, if it is lying, if it is doing something that we said we're going to do and we did the opposite. Like there is like this huge influencer in the vegan world. After many years, 30 or 40 million followers, but she was caught red-handed eating a steak in a very fancy restaurant. So, I mean, it made a lot of people smile, but it also disappointed a lot of people because she was an influencer for a lot of believers who thought that she was an ambassador. And maybe it wasn't one time, or maybe not, God knows. But imagine that this moment that this person has caught, and you something that, was embarrassing. Did he ever, I'll take like the silliest example, but still it brings all the blood to our face from shame and embarrassment. Did you ever write a text about somebody that was full of criticism and ended up by mistake sending it to the person that we were talking about? And at the moment that you press send, how did you feel? So this is like a tiny, tiny example, right? A tiny example, but in that moment, this is a sentence. It is a sentence that we human beings deal with cause and effect. That I don't know, I'm not like this kind of like prophet and psychics that could tell you, oh, it happened because of this. Like some people just go and try to diagnose why things are happening. We don't know. We don't know nothing. Even if you're like super spiritual, how could you know where was the seed level planted? Maybe you have done something to receive that sentence or that reward from 3 lifetimes ago. So this is why, again, I mentioned it like a couple of classes ago. We cannot judge somebody who is rewarded and we think that he doesn't deserve it because he's a criminal, because he's this, because he's lazy, because he's it seems like he gets like they don't do anything and they get rewarded. Why? I'm working so hard and I'm not getting the same reward. We should never think in this way, or at least attempt to resist thinking in this way. Why? Because we aren't, unfortunately, we're so trapped in this reality of time, of illusion of time and space, that we have no way and we have no ability to connect to the seed level of what is the real cause of what just happened. Why is this happening to me? We can't really answer. But if it's a sentence and if it's something that is negative, we must have done something to bring back, but not the opposite, to the contrary of saying, I don't deserve this. It's probably because of this person. This person is the cause of my misery. I got discovered. I got like, what is it that we call it? Like a snitch? He is a snitch. But why is he a snitch? Why did you draw to your life a snitch now to accelerate your process so that sentence and purge your system? Purge your system of that toxicity that is intoxifying your entire system, emotional, spiritual, and physical. Now, we don't realize that. We don't think about those things in this way. But this is why we need to pray to the Creator, bring it on. Bring on the things that are going to be embarrassing and humiliating, because if there is anything in my system, anything in consciousness that is corrupted and that is toxic, bring on whatever is going to cause purge that negativity so that I can become a better recipient. The whole story of the red heifer is to cleanse not just the physical body, the esoteric, the spiritual body of an individual, so that this person can get a clean slate. Some people can come and say, I'm so unlucky, I'm trying everything, I'm investing time, money, energy, and nothing works. What's holding back this flow of light, of purity, to come in? I mean, the quick answer without diagnosis, I'm clogged. My spiritual channel, my spiritual conduit is clogged. And so if sometimes I'm not able to artificially or manually create this reboot with the help of Hukat, the help of the red heifer, of this reading of the Zohar, whatever other spiritual practice that we may have, at least we can start with the thought process, the consciousness, spiking this frequency from being a victim, being the blame, not to take responsibility, something is wrong or something is bad with me. It's cause and effect. It's like almost too easy to do 1 plus 1 equal 2. And by the way, if I do 1 minus 1, it's equal 0. The point is to purge this negativity, is to purge all these negative credits that I am accumulating anew every single day. Do I still get reactive every single day? And every single time that I do, I accumulate more negative credits. I might be right now on minus 20,363. So I need to do some catch up with some positive credits. This is what we're here for. Now we can accelerate, the balancing act with these boosters. The boosters that are these windows in time, that are those tools, that is the mikveh, that is meditation, that is prayer, that is forgiving, that is letting go. Those are boosters. Or I can just keep on accumulating, wait for the boomerang effect and to hit us and say, why is this happening? It's because of this guy. A person who's not spiritual is not going to look inward. It's very simple. A person who's not spiritual, and he might call himself or herself spiritual until this person is being pushed, and then instead of looking inward, that person naturally doesn't take any effort, naturally would look outward to blame that person, blame that family member, this co-worker, this boss, this manager. A spiritual person would look inward. And so I can use the boosters that we just mentioned. And on the menu du jour is the Zohar of this portion, is Hukat, is the red heifer, is trying to visualize and projecting myself to be in the temple, going to Aaron, the high priest, and to Aaron and the high priest, they help us to cleanse of all this negativity that we have accumulated. Any questions? Not at the same time, please. Okay, sounds good. So we're back on track, God willing, next Monday. And that's it. So I'm in East Coast, the same as you, most of you. If you have any questions or any idea of topic that you'd like or questions that you'd like us to address in one of those sessions, please don't hesitate to message me. Thank you very much and have a blessed week. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank you,
having us.
Yehuda.
A bientôt, Yehuda.
À bientôt. Thank you.
Bye.